before you start laughing at my life pool, and before you start comparing it to 30,000 ES Guardian, I want you to listen some of my reasons and understand my goals for this build. Every league I make Righteous Fire build because I just love it, and every time I do something different. In Breach League I did Righteous Troll build. It was Juggernaut, it was slow but tanky, and it was based on endurance charges. This time I wanted to take different approach and use a class on a completely different side of your passive skill tree, and that is Trickster. And when I think about Trickster, I imagine quick and agile, evasive character. Trickster also has a very interesting node, Patient Reaper. This node increases every regeneration by 60% after killing enemy with damage over time, and this synergizes very well with flat life regeneration. But as you know, getting life as a shadow is not very efficient way to scale Righteous Fire damage, because there aren't that many life nodes. So the easy way would have been to do low life energy shield Righteous Fire Trickster. But Shaft's armor costs like 6 Exile, not everyone can afford that. And I want to do a build sort of affordable to most people. Also, I wanted to do a build that makes you feel like you're playing real action RPG, in terms of having to physically dodge the attacks, and not just having a lot of armor or evasion or a lot of life pool and just tank everything. And I think this build perfectly captures the essence of action. So, with that in mind, let's talk about this build, items and passive skill tree. Timestamps and build information as always in video description. As I mentioned, Shadow does not have an easy access to a lot of life pool. So, you need some other way to scale your damage and also mitigate damage. So, to increase my effective life pool, I am using Mind over Matter. When hit, 30% of damage is taken from mana before life, and with that I have around 8000 effective life pool by combining life and unreserved mana, and of course it can be increased even more. Now, as for damage, you know that Righteous Fire scales damage based on your life or energy shield. But despite not having a lot of life, I still have 61,000 DPS on Righteous Fire, and with Conk effect it goes to 93,000, and that is before any debuffs on enemies. And with Sulfur Flask it goes over 100,000 DPS. So the damage is not the best, but it is decent. In addition, I am using Flammability Curse and Elemental Equilibrium, so in most cases the damage is really good. I know it is kind of long intro before showing any items or passive skill tree, but I want to explain all the interesting synergies going on with this build. So this build is really fast and it has decent clear speed. I was getting 180 million XP per hour at level 80 plus. And here's how it normally goes. You drop Orb of Storm on pack of monsters. It triggers Elemental Overload, and then use Shield Charge with just lightning damage, and every time it hits enemies, it triggers Elemental Equilibrium, which lowers enemy fire resistance. And against tougher enemies also drop Orb of Storms, which also has Curse on hit with Flammability. So in most cases enemy not only loses all fire resistances, but also goes into negative fire resistances, which increases your fire damage even more. And then you just burn everything with massive Righteous Fire. Also, if you are a fan of Flicker Strike, you can use that instead of Shield Charge. Now let's talk about items. First, I want to talk about Kikazaru Ring. This is sort of underrated item, but it is very strong. Because this build does not have huge life pool, this flat life regeneration is very good with this build. In addition, it also has mana regen, which is useful because you are using Mind over Matter. And by you I mean me. And probably the most awesome thing about this ring is 40% reduced effect of curses on you. And I'm using 2 of these rings. So I get 80% reduced curse effect on me. You know how annoying it is to get mad with temp chains? Well, not with this build. Think about all the annoying curses that make other builds less powerful. You can basically ignore all the curses. You don't even need to have very high overcapped resistances. It is fun seeing free curses on me and not be afraid of them. Oh, by the way, I did a short video about how you can use Righteous Fire from level 40, even sooner, if you don't mind using Ruby Flask. Now, the most expensive item of this build is, of course, Kaom's Heart. I'm gonna talk about alternative items a bit later. And Kaom's Heart is like 6 times cheaper than Chevrons, around 1 Exalt. So you should be able to afford it after some farming. Next, Voll's Vision Helmet. Gives haste resistance, which is always needed. Also up to 12% increased maximum life if no items are corrupted. Does not count for jewels. And also gives flat 100 life regeneration per second if no items are corrupted. Next is Belt, Immortal Flesh. It is debatable, but Here are my reasons. Of course, life regeneration is very good, mana regeneration, because I'm using mind over matter. Also, flat minus physical damage taken from attacks. This helps a lot against many small hits. Damn, how I miss old Arctic armor. Next weapon, Doryani's Catalyst, which is dirt cheap. A lot of elemental damage, but also increased attack speed, which is used for shield charge. Gotta go fast. Of course, Rise of the Phoenix shield. Boots, gloves and amulet must all have a high life roll and overcap your cold and lighting resistances. Fire resistance can be lower because you are gonna use Purity of Fire. Eventually you will want Marble Amulet because it has % life regeneration. On boots you should also try to get Labyrinth enchantment to increase your life and mana regeneration per second. Remember, both life and mana regeneration is increased by 60% after killing enemy with damage over time. Now passive skill tree, and then I'm gonna talk about alternative items for leveling. First ascendancy point should go into Patient Reaper, and after that leveling with Righteous Fire will be very easy, and your Righteous Fire damage will be insane for low levels. Next, Swift Killer. Gain frenzy charge on kill, and +1 to maximum frenzy charges. And frenzy charges increases your Righteous Fire damage and gives you more move speed. By the way, for Bandit rewards get life and frenzy charge. For Merciless ascendancy point I took Vive Arcane. Increases your maximum mana regeneration, and gives a chance to recover 10% of your maximum mana when you use a skill. And this is all also useful because you have Mind over Matter. It also have 8% reduced damage taken for 4 seconds after spending 200 mana, but it is unreliable because your skills do not cost a lot of mana. Passive skill tree could be a little bit more efficient, but early leveling I needed more dexterity and strength, so I took these dex and strength nodes, and never refunded those two int nodes to take strength and int node instead. I really hate explaining passive skill trees, so just rush left to take life and AoE nodes, to take elemental overload, mind over matter, elemental equilibrium, more area nodes, regen and life, and jewel slots. In total I have 6 jewel slots, and 5 of them have increased life and damage over time. By the way, when buying jewels, do not search for life and fire damage jewels, but instead search for life and damage over time jewels, because they are way cheaper. Also try to get some resistances on jewels. I'm using one efficient training jewel, but I think I could replace it for another life and damage over time jewel. It just shield charge needs a lot of strength, but you can just leave it at level 1. Another 10 minutes long video. I'm gonna hate rendering time. I still need to talk about links and alternative items. So links. Righteous Fire linked with increased burning damage, elemental focus, and increased AoE gem, which you can replace for conk effect against tougher bosses, but I still prefer AoE gem. Orb of Storms linked with curse on hit, flammability, and increased critical strike chance. It is used to trigger elemental overload, to trigger elemental equilibrium, and to apply curses. Shield charge linked with faster attacks, added lighting damage, and fortify. Added lighting damage is to help trigger elemental equilibrium, so you don't need to cast Orb of Storms on every enemy pack. Also fortify increases your survivability. In addition, I am using Purity of Fire, Stone Golem, Flame Dash, Scorching Ray and While Lighting Trap. I do not have enough gem slots to link Scorching Ray with something, so it is only used to lower enemy resistances. Now alternative items. Belt of the Deceiver, good, enough said. Shaper Seed Amulet, 2% life regen and some mana regen. Good until you have enough life regen or until you can use Marble Amulet. Armor, Ambush Charge, use until you get Kaom's Heart. For damage comparison, with Kaom's Heart 61,000 DPS, with Ambush Charge 49,800 DPS. But if you 5 link it and use Conk Effect in addition, you would have 76,800 DPS. But of course Righteous Fire AoE would be lower. For boots, an interesting alternative would be these boots. It is evasion based, so it is not that great as armor or armor ES, but damn, I would love to have immune to burning ground, shock ground and chilled ground, and also 100 life regen per second while moving. But it does not have resistances and you only get tiny bit of life from dexterity. Bloodhands boots used to be good, but they got nerfed and now I wouldn't even consider them. Oh, that's right, shield, the Oak Shield. It gives a lot of maximum life and has 3% life regeneration per second, but later on you're still gonna be using Rise of the Phoenix. Why is it so long? I'm tired of speaking. For weapon I was also using the Dark Seer, but you can use any scepter with high elemental damage. A very important thing to remember when you're gearing up, You cannot have any fire damage on your gears. Do not make my silly mistake. I had fire damage on gloves and amulet, and because of elemental equilibrium, I kept lowering my own damage. And I did that for like probably 20 levels, until like level 85. What an idiot. Did I talk about flasks? Shit. I am using Divination Distillate Flask. It is a hybrid flask, and because I'm using Mind Over Matter, it is very useful that it also recovers mana. In addition, it gives to 4% to maximum elemental resistance during flask effect. I'm using it only when I'm taking a lot of damage. As always, one flask to remove bleeding, one flask to remove freeze. I should also replace my Quicksilver with Sulfur Flask. Sulfur Flask increases damage, which includes Righteous Fire, and also creates Consecrated Grounded Juice, which increases life regeneration. Also you can use Ruby Flask, but I don't really need it. My 5th flask removes burning, but I never really use it, because my fingers can't reach it. So that's it, thanks for watching, bye.